Episode 2. You are my brother, man. We're going to get into this episode. I want to thank you guys for tuning into the first episode. If you got a chance to check it out. If you didn't, just know that this channel is about promoting love, positivity, strong ownership, black and brown equality, ending racism, ending segregation. You know, things like that. That's what this channel is about. That's what this community believes in. So if you're with that and this message resonates with you, please do me a favor. Help this community grow. We need you to like the video. We need you to share the video, but we also need you to, if I can really talk, but we need you guys to subscribe. We need you guys to continuously put feedback in the chat, because at the end of the day, this is a collective community and I want to know your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. So please feel free to share the video. But today is episode 2, and we're going to be talking about the importance of voting. Now, as a black person myself, living over here in America, I've had the liberty of being able to vote since I was 18. So let's just call that 20 years now. I've been having the ability to vote. Have I always voted? No, I haven't always voted. But now that I'm older, I'm realizing the importance of voting. It wasn't something that was not instilled in me when I was a kid. You know, my parents were actively voting all the time. My father's heavily into politics. My mom is obsessed with politics. I personally am not, but you know, I've definitely made strides to vote. But as I've gotten older in my life, there's been a growing importance that I've been seeing, the importance of voting and how it impacts our community. And I want to be able to share those thoughts with you guys, because I want to talk about that importance of it, and honestly admitting to the fact that I haven't always voted, you know, every year that I possibly could. But now, over the last 2 years, I have. And I want to encourage other people to do the same, or just know a little bit more about your rights as a person. So why am I talking about voting? It's important to understand, you know, the whys of why we do things. You know, I'm one of those people that believes that the why is the most important thing. So the reason why I'm doing this episode of the importance of voting is because look at the times we're living in. Look at the times we're living in. And we had a record amount of people vote in this last presidential election. Maybe that's because of just they were dishappy or dissatisfied, or you know, they just wasn't really pleased with the last outcome. They understand that change need to happen, so they got out there and voted in record numbers, you know. Or maybe they just got out there and wanted to see, you know, the system stay the same, so they got out there and voted on that side. But the importance of voting stems from a lot of different things. For me, you know, I've seen communities, black and brown communities, be impoverished and disenfranchised and suppressed, if you will. So I want to talk about voting and the opportunity you have to vote, and more so speaking to black and brown people and even white people out there who have not voted but resonate with this type of content, Asian American people. Point being is, if you out there, you live in the United States, you are, you know, maybe in a what they would call minority class over here, even though I don't believe that at all. But the importance of voting for you especially is if you don't agree with the times we're living in. Think about it. You know, we can't even get minimum wage passed. You know, we're still trying, or people are still trying to suppress other people's votes, or you know, you're just not happy about the stimulus bill that needs to get passed. So it's important to vote. If you're not happy about, you know, your local community that you live in, seeing people get arrested for absolutely nothing, or seeing people get, you know, years behind silly things like marijuana charges, you know, and this is not meant to be extra political, but it's just talking about the importance of voting. And voting helps you change the dynamics and the abilities you have within your community. So it's very important to vote. But I also have to be real on this channel, and I know a lot of people don't vote for a lot of different reasons, and I want to talk to those people specifically. You know, I met brothers in my life, sisters in my life that say, yo, I don't believe in voting because nothing's changed. People haven't voted, and, you know, people have been voting for so long and things are still the same way they are. And I want to address that topic head on. That's something I can resonate with, keeping it all real. You know, I'm in, you know, about to be in my 40s, and, you know, I haven't always seen the best of times throughout America. And it might be due to a lot of the oppression issues that reside naturally in this country, but also the fact that we don't have a voice sometimes to really change the dynamics of which we live. So voting does that. But there are a lot of people that, when you're 18 years old, you're thinking about, that first opportunity to vote and whether you're going to take it or not. I'm going to tell you why you should take it. That's just in my opinion. It's because if you want to change things in your community, remember, like, for instance, you might have friends that go in front of the court or in front of a judge, and the judge just doesn't even see them as a person. The judge just wants to throw the hammer at them for something small or something minuscule, just destroy their lives. What really happens there is the fact that that judge is an elected person. We have to be able to change the dynamics of our own communities. And it starts with these elected officials that represent us, supposedly. Now, I'm not saying everybody gets the job wrong all the time. No. This is, if you're looking for a person just to kind of vent their frustrations about everybody in the voting system sucks, I'm not going to do that. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because, like I said, things haven't always been perfect. Things probably will never always be perfect. But there are strides being made. And I'm talking to those brothers and sisters out there, or those people out there who feel like voting is just a waste of time because nothing changes. And I'm going to tell you why. Because some things do happen, and sometimes progress takes an awful long time. It really does. Nothing's going to change overnight. So the point being there is that it's important to vote and understand that sometimes your elected officials are just not going to get the job done. And there's limitations to that. For instance, you might be, an elected official that's in a 4-year position, a 2-year position, a 6-year position, an 8-year position, lifelong politician, serve your community, whatever have you. But you see, it's a wide range of people that are elected in these spots. So point being there is that, man, you got to vote the right people in for that 2-year, that 4-year, that 6, that 8, that lifetime cycle, to make sure that these people are doing the things that they said that they were going to do once they made it to this elected official position. Now, sometimes people get it right. Sometimes, like I said, progress takes a long time, but you have to be in the conversation in order to see change happen in your community. You can't always sit back and say, and I'm not blaming victims here. We don't do that on this channel. We're not blaming anybody. We're just looking for signs of improvement or signs of being active and being mobilized. And, if you want to see change happen in your community, change is not going to happen unless you, hold some of these elected officials, to the responsibility that they said they were going to do when they got elected. For instance, if you're tired of seeing black and brown people be shot down in the street, you need to elect somebody, who, especially a DA locally, who's going to try police officers, not somebody who's going to be their friends and say, yo, you just shot somebody. Oh, let me cover for you. I'm the union part 2. You don't need that. You need somebody who's going to hold people accountable. So not only is it important to vote in the presidential elections, but I would argue that it's more important to vote down in local elections. So the point being is just get out there and vote any way you can. And I really want to encourage and say really thank you to a lot of people here, is that I have a lot of feedback. I have a lot of people who tell me, things about voting sucks or voting is positive, but I need that energy to promote and talk to people about why I believe these things are important. I'm not just feeding you one side of the argument. I'm telling you about what other people are saying that may disagree with us. But at the end of the day, we have to agree with ourselves and take the power in our own hands. And we can only do that by getting out there and electing people that we feel can get the job done. And it's not about, hey, if you don't vote locally, you can't really complain sometimes about some of the things that go on in your local community that don't benefit you. So just understand, you have that right, Mr. or Mrs. 18-year-old who goes out there and votes. You are a part of that change that will promote that equal social justice that we all seek. So it's very important to do that. There's another side of this equation. The other side of this equation is for people who can't vote. Now, like I said, we keep it real over here. And keeping it real, what that really entails is, sometimes I'm talking to people and they're just like, I don't vote because of this. I don't vote because of this. oh, I don't vote, because I'm not happy with this or whatever. Point being there is sometimes those people have to be honest with themselves and look themselves in the mirror. And I know for a fact that some of these people can't vote due to the fact that maybe there was some judge that gave them some time or gave them a rough sentence over something they did was minuscule or light, and then they end up paying a price. And once you get a felony in this country, you lose your right to vote. So many black and brown people are already being locked up and being oppressed due to the ways of this system. So not only are they taking away your rights, your freedom, your ability to live, but also your ability to impact the community in which you live in prior to you even going to where they're trying to send you if they're trying to lock you up for something. So you lose all of that ability. So my point being there is that if you have been incarcerated in America, it's so important to not only get out alive, get out in a somewhat healthy mental state, but also get out there and try, if you possibly can, to get your charges thrown out or, off your record, so that way you have that ability to vote. I can tell you one time I had gotten a little bit of trouble. It was, a long time ago. And, it was only a little crime that I did. I've never been a criminal, but I understand that people be put in rough position sometimes to try to feed their family. People have to eat, people have to live, and sometimes we take risks that we don't even want to take. But I want you guys to understand that sometimes when you play around with your freedom, you are also playing around with the ability to change your community. And that's what these people who know out there, who want to suppress your vote, suppress your voice, they know that. They looking for any opportunity they can to take your voice away. So if you have been locked up, it's important to get your charges thrown out. Do whatever you have to do to be able to vote. Not only in the presidential election, but like I said, locally, because locally sometimes is where you feel the most pain that nobody really wants to talk about. So it's really important to do that. I want to talk about the importance of voting, but from a suppression standpoint. And what I mean by that is, I was recently in Atlanta, and if you're over here in America, you know one thing, that Georgia played a very vital role in flipping the presidency, from Donald Trump over to Joe Biden. And Georgia played a key role, not only with the presidential elections, but also with the Senate, seats, and, capturing 50% of the House, and or 50% of the Senate rather. And, I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I was just in Georgia not too long ago, and all of that remarkable energy when I was visiting Atlanta, once the numbers had finally came out. I was actually in Atlanta when the numbers came out, and it was revealed to the world that Joe Biden had won the presidency, and everybody was celebrating, everybody was happy, and I'm just in that part of Atlanta that happens to be, somewhat liberal, I guess. So you could just feel the energy in the air, right? And all of a sudden, it's like, what, 2 months later, a month later, they have been, and I say they, let me be clear about they meaning Republicans who fear that the America that they know is changing. And not all Republicans think that way. You definitely got your moderate Republicans that are conservative, but not like off the deep end Trump, QAnon, weirdo type of people. Not into that type of stuff. Your Marjorie Taylor Greenes are just, I don't even want to talk about those type of people, put that bad energy out there. But, these people are now trying to suppress your vote in the state of Georgia. And I'm thinking that it's just an isolated incident in the state of Georgia. Then I happen to be watching the news, and I watch a multitude of different news platforms. I don't just watch the CNNs, the MSNBCs, sometimes I watch Fox News just to hear what the enemy got to say sometimes, and just to kind of know their perspective a little bit, but also the Roland Martins of the world, again, independent. So I get my news and my feedback from a variety of different sources. So here I am thinking that they're just trying this ridiculous tactic in Georgia, but now watching the news, finding out that they're trying this nonsense all throughout the country, built on a big lie. And we know it's a big lie. But let me tell you the type of people we are dealing with. You really have to understand that when people fear for their lives and they talk about this country and all the freedoms that comes with this country, what these people are showing us now is that they don't give a damn about what they told you. They care about their idea of freedom. They care about their idea of what you should and what you should not do, their liberties. They don't give a damn about yours, because if you can now pass all of these bills on a local level, or at least trying to get these bills to do election reform based on the idea that there was no need for reform because you lost, then you could just go changing stuff because you lost. What? That's not even the American way. You know, we win sometimes, we lose sometimes, but we get up and we kick butt again. That's supposed to be the American way. But if you can lose and then just try to go change the rules, yo, this is why we have to wake up. We need our voices to be heard. So when they're out there trying to pass those bills in the local state legislatures, electorate, if you will, or legislature rather, we need our presence there to be felt. We need people outside mobilizing and say, no, you will not do this. So that way, when you're trying your little, things to do in private, no, it will not be in private. We are monitoring you because we can't trust you. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, imagine, a sports game going on, and your team's losing in the later part of the game, and you decide you just want to change the rules, like in an active match or an active game. That's what this is like, and I've never seen anything like this. And I was younger when, very young, and not knowing anything about politics or anything during the Reagan administration, and then you go to the George Bush situation, and then you get Donald Trump, and it's like, man, like, just when you think it couldn't get any worse. And I know there's some people out there that like Trump. I'm not getting into all of that, but I'm just saying, as far as the level of racism, the level of bigotry, the level of hate, the level of animosity, the level of suppression that has just gone up, has just been ridiculous. And some people out there who know way more about this stuff than I do, they probably tell you this is nothing new. But at the end of the day, this is why voting is so important, is because you need your voice to be heard. So at the end of the day, if you take anything away from this video, just know that voting is important. Whether you choose to vote or not, know exactly the risk you run by not voting. Over here, if you choose to not vote because you have a felony, okay, you can't control that, but you can get help to help get your charges dropped or pay any fee you need to have paid, just so that your voice can be heard. There are many different resources out there for that. So my brother, my sister, if you are feeling pain out there, you're not alone. But understand, if you want your voice to be heard, you have to get your voice heard by voting, so that way we all can have a seat at the table. And that's what this topic is about: voting. The importance of voting on a presidential election, the ability to vote, but also voting down in your local election. Because if I live in the state of New York and I have liberal voting laws that protect people, transgender people, all types of people's rights, tenant rights. But if you live in another place that may be a little bit more rural or more suburban, in the deep South or in another state or in the Midwest, that may not have some of the same liberalized laws. If you want to see change happen, maybe you're not a liberal, whatever have you, but you definitely want to see the end of racism and some of the things that are plaguing your community, you have to be able to vote, because that's the only way you're going to change your community. And let Georgia be a lesson to you. You might live in a state like Illinois. I look at Illinois sometimes and I'm like, man, it's funny to me how Illinois is always red. And I said to myself, maybe they just get out there and vote. But then you look at all the stuff that's happening in Chicago, and I'm saying to myself, man, is that state even flip? But I don't really know. But the point is that if you're in Chicago, if you're in, states that are deep red down south, and you want to make your voice heard, maybe you're in Texas and you want your voice to be heard, you want water rights. I was watching something in Texas to where people in a certain community had no water, and they was right outside of Dallas, and their elected official couldn't do anything. So the point is that we're not always going to get the vote right when it comes to certain people, especially if they're there for 4 years, because in 4 years you can't always get the job done. But we have to continuously make strides towards total progress. So the point is that maybe somebody's first term they don't get the job done, and another person steps up, they pick the ball up and they run with it, they take us to get closer to the finish line. So when you look at that type of regression, it's not going to all be done overnight. It's not going to all be done with one person. You know, I look at somebody like Mr. Kleiber. Kleiber said, you know, it's not that voting doesn't work. It's just that sometimes we don't get the progression that we always want, but we continuously make strides, and we can't focus on what we haven't accomplished. Let's focus on what we have accomplished, but what we still need to accomplish. And that is what I'm going to leave you on. So no matter where you sit with this video, just know one thing. This channel is about love, promoting peace, equality, voting rights, anything that plagues our communities, being you as minority, world majority people, or if you're white and you don't even like what you're seeing right now, please feel free to share this video. Feel free to hit the like button, because at the end of the day, this is the only way we can get our message heard. And please feel free to share your ideas, because without you guys, I am nothing. And without all of us, we are not a community. So thank you guys for tuning in to Is Voting Important? Episode number 2. You are my brother. Peace.